Celtics are going to win. There's a Game 7 back in Boston.
Ruling on the floor is good basket. The play's under review.
White. Won 3 straight games to start this series. So it was a Game 7. They stand eye to eye with history, and they did not blink. The Heat are going to the NBA Finals. What a win on the road.
History. The one word that describes this Miami Heat playoff run. Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat have now become just the second 8th seed in league history to say they're 4 wins away from hoisting the Larry O'Brien Trophy. The only other team with those same bragging rights come in the form of the 1999 New York Knicks, in a season where only 50 games were played due to it being a lockout season. New York would be toppled by the San Antonio Spurs in that year's finals, marking San Antonio's first championship in the Tim Duncan, Greg Popovich era. Miami has found themselves on the right side of history, whether they win or lose against the Denver Nuggets. But on the flip side, Boston has found themselves on the wrong side of history. After going down 3-0 in the Eastern Conference Finals, the Celtics managed to claw their way back into the series, winning 3 straight to tie it up. Not a single team in league history has been able to rebound from a deficit of such, and only 3 teams before this have mounted the comeback to tie the series back up at 3 apiece, the last time being the 2003 first round, where the Rasheed Wallace and Bonzi Wells-led Trailblazers nearly conquered the 3rd-seeded Dallas Mavericks. Jason Tatum and company were en route back to Boston after a grueling Game 6 battle in Miami, and the odds surely were in their favor. In the storied history of the Celtics franchise as a whole, Boston has a 22-5 record when playing Game 7 on their home hardwood. The 5 times they've lost a winner-go-home game at TD Garden include the 2018 Eastern Conference Finals against LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers, the 2009 Eastern Conference Semifinals against Dwight Howard and the Orlando Magic, the 2005 first round against Jermaine O'Neal and the Indiana Pacers, the 1982 Eastern Conference Finals against Julius Erving and the Philadelphia 76ers, and the 1973 Eastern Conference Finals against Walt Frazier and the New York Knicks. And now, Boston Celtics give their fans a rather heart-wrenching ending to their 2022-2023 campaign after dropping Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals to Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat, and they now fall victim to being on the wrong side of NBA history. After representing the Eastern Conference in the 2022 Finals and falling short, the Boston Celtics were one of the consensus favorites to win it all throughout the entire season. They ran it back with the same core and even added reigning 6th Man of the Year Malcolm Brogdon, but still, it wasn't enough. From the top to the bottom, you can pinpoint different reasons as to why Boston collapsed and failed to reach the ceiling they made for themselves last season. With this, it's evident that a change has to be made. But what if I told you the changes made this offseason could not only affect Boston's future in the short term to win a championship sooner than later, but could affect the trajectory of this franchise for years upon years? What if I told you about one looming decision that currently lies in front of this team that could determine whether this franchise is a consistent contender throughout the rest of the 2020s, or if they truly fail to hang up banner number 18 in the Jason Tatum era? Back in 2016, the Boston Celtics took a swing on California guard Jaylen Brown with the 3rd overall pick in the draft. Since that day 7 years ago, Boston has seen more success than most franchises, appearing in 5 of the last 7 Eastern Conference Finals matchups. However, at first, this team was full of young up-and-comers with a seemingly bright future ahead. And although the Celtics would still be mainstay contenders next season if their roster remains untouched, there may be no better time than this to shake it all up. Jaylen Brown has been proclaimed the best Robin in the league by many, But what is his incentive to stay in that role? The team has yet to win a title while the league continues to get stronger, and Brown could find more opportunity to grow and improve elsewhere as a number one option. Sure, the Celtics could trade some of their role players this offseason in an attempt to improve, but as constructed, they arguably have the best depth on paper in the league as it is. By trading a Marcus Smart or a Derek White, the chances Boston receives a player better is quite low. The only real incentive for Brown to stay is the hefty $300 million Supermax contract that he's eligible for. But for Boston's side, how would that remotely help? By giving him that contract, you're committing to a star who's not far from his peak in his current role, while also sacrificing loads of money that could be used to fill out the roster within the future. The most logical move for both sides would be to find Brown a new home this offseason. A home where Brown can grow into an even larger role, while still being on a playoff team. On Boston's side, they'd be moving Brown to A, save money, and B, get younger. Jason Tatum is only 25 years young, and in a league where teams continue to break barriers and improve vastly, Boston can afford to take a year or two off from title contention to solidify the future. Maybe they can snag the number 4 overall pick from Houston in a Jaylen Brown swap, or even number 3 overall from Portland. Maybe they don't even get a top pick in this year's draft. Maybe they snag more and younger role players from a Brooklyn or a New York or another team along with future draft capital. Sure, Boston may not be a true contender immediately after this deal, but they still likely remain a playoff threat while benefiting long term. With that being said, Boston can either make a play at a risk-reward scenario with Jaylen Brown, or they can simply play it safe by running it back and hoping for the best. However, this one Jaylen Brown decision could quite possibly be the biggest decision in Boston Celtics history. This could determine whether Boston maintains this level of unreal consistency throughout the rest of the decade. This could determine whether Boston hangs up banner number 18 by the year 2030. This could ultimately determine not only Jaylen Brown's future as a Celtic, but Jason Tatum's future as a Celtic. Not many things here are certain, but one thing is, the Boston Celtics' future relies on the 2023 offseason.